Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Always a pleasure to be able to sit here and share some of the news of Neepawa and the surrounding region right here on NACTV. I'm Eoin Devereux, news reporter with the Banner Press, and joined this week, almost as always now, by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in.
Thanks for having me here, and eager to get through the paper this week. We actually have quite a bit to share, jam-packed full of different stories, and a big one on our front page.
I got to admit, you are absolutely, positively, 100% correct on that. This week's edition, for those of you that follow on a regular basis, and for those of you that pick up the paper on a consistent basis, you know January usually is a bit of a dead zone when it comes to the news. A lot of the organizations, a lot of businesses, a lot of places are just sort of still getting over the holiday season, the Christmas season, so it's a little slow from time to time. That is not the case this time, as Casper said, and we're very pleased and happy about that because we're able to share with you a very interesting update on the front page of the Banner Press. If you want to get a closer look, you're going to have to pick up a physical copy anywhere in Neepawa or the surrounding communities around Neepawa, or you can find it on mywestman.ca. But to delve deeper into the story, which is why you're here, healthcare facility built for the future. That is the headline on the front page, and we are talking, of course, about Neepawa's new hospital. It was announced so long ago. It was December 2020, and then they broke ground on the prospective property there on the east end of Neepawa in October, if I remember, of last year. And we've heard little bits and pieces here and there, a little bit of hearsay, innuendo, talking about some of the details behind it. Fortunately, there was a meeting recently at the Legion Hall and Prairie Mountain Health, as well as the architectural firm involved with the construction and the design of the building, shared all the details. And boy, did they ever, Casper. I got to admit, quite honestly, and I don't think I'm telling tales out of school. Sometimes it's a little difficult getting information out of Prairie Mountain Health on certain things. That's just the bureaucracy of any RHA. I'm not pointing specifically at Prairie Mountain Health. I've worked in other regions, in Brandon and in Portage la Prairie, different ones, and it's the same over there. There's a certain process that everything has to go through. So to see the openness and how much was shared at this public meeting about the hospital, about how it's going to be designed, about how it's going to be set up, and all of that, it was amazing to me. I was very pleasantly surprised by the whole thing.
Yeah, it looked like it was very informative there, and definitely gave a lot of information to be included in the story there. And if everything goes according to plan, it's going to be a fantastic facility. Like, I won't go over every detail. Of course, we want you to read the story for yourself too, so you can find out exactly what's going on. But, you know, plans to include a green space, I think that's actually quite important for facilities like this, centered on, you know, wellness and getting better, because, you know, having that space that can really lift your spirits. So it's going to be pretty awesome to see how it turns out.
That's right, Casper just shared some of the details about the green space that's going to be a part of it, an atrium inside the structure itself, a 3-story structure as well, so it's going to be a massive facility. We know some of the details behind the $127 million hospital, 60 plus beds are going to be in there, so much other. One of the interesting things I learned about on this, they've shared some of the room details and all that, but was the process of designing the rooms. The architectural firm based out of Winnipeg, LM Architectural, representative from there walked us through it, and they said the big key point over the last few months is they set up, in essence, rooms at Breaker 16, just on the outskirts of Neepawa, set up similar to what they're going to be like in the hospital. And they had doctors, they had nurses, they had other representative administrative staff come in that were going to be at the hospital. They're going to be working at the hospital. And they had them go through their routines, their processes of caring for patients, looking after individuals, and all those things. And they took suggestions from them. The doctor said, okay, where you have this machinery here right now, maybe that doesn't work best for us. Move it over here. The nurses were saying the flow coming in to take care of a patient, this doesn't quite work the right way we want it to. Maybe set it up like this. And they took those ideas and they took those suggestions and they took them to heart. That's a huge thing, I think. And I'm really glad that over 40 doctors, nurses, and other representatives, Casper, were in and had their say.
Yeah, I actually think that's, like you said, a really important part of the process that they went through because, obviously you can put things down on paper and, to your eyes it might look like it works well, but if you're actually there in the facility doing the day-to-day stuff that you need to do there, you're going to have a better idea of how things flow. So for them to be able to provide that input and help improve things and make it work for them better in the plans, I think that's going to improve things quite a bit.
What I really liked about the meeting also was that the Legion Hall was packed to capacity. I didn't do an exact number, but I'd say well over 100 people were in there. And I'm very pleased to see that type of response. I'm going to say Ken Waddell, I'll share a little bit of a secret behind the scenes there. Ken Waddell, in the week before this meeting, was on the phone constantly with Prairie Mountain Health saying, hey guys, maybe you want to advertise this a little bit as opposed to just putting a message out on Facebook. So they did do some advertising. I'm not saying we're responsible. I'm just saying, there was an ad in the paper and there were a bunch of people there. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, it's just me maybe. But
it's, it definitely counts to get it out on different platforms, including paper, because, having taken a look at this before, and I'm pretty sure this is something I've talked about before, but I've had a look at this sort of thing when I went to college. We learned a whole bunch of different stuff in the courses I was in. And they said, you need to get this on other media platforms because if you're only doing it online, the way online works is you're likely only going to find it if you're specifically searching for it.
Yep.
And not everyone is on Facebook. It depends on what your demographic is, and even then it might be iffy. So having it in these different mediums, whether it's radio or print, we definitely appreciate you considering print. It spreads your message better. It helps get the word out there a lot better than if it was just online.
That's right. And again, like I said, maybe it had something to do with it, maybe it didn't. I don't know for sure. All I know is I was very happy to see that the Legion Hall was packed as it was with interested individuals who wanted to learn more and were curious and asked questions. There were several questions they asked. I go through the entire list of them there. I'm just going to go off on one of the questions here. I thought it was a great question that was asked about what is actually going to happen with the old hospital. And the representatives, Brian Scoosbart, with Prairie Mountain Health, he wasn't able to delve too deep in because there's still negotiations and processing going on about that. It could, he said, the possibility exists that it could be coming back to the town of Neepawa. But again, there's still I's that got to be dotted, T's that got to be crossed. He didn't want to give away too much of that. He was optimistic that that's something that could happen in the future, and that'd be great if that is the case. Who knows? It's a good piece of property. It's a good location. I'm sure maybe the building could be salvaged for something in some capacity, or if not, like I said, it's a great piece of property there, overlooking the hill, looking down towards the flats and all that. So, who knows? But that's that. That's the old. Let's keep focused on the new. And if you want to keep focused on the new and learn a little bit more about the health center for Neepawa, that story you can find right on the front page of the January 20th edition of the Banner Press. It continues on to page 9, and on page 9. You'll be able to see a little bit of the blueprints of the 3 levels, so hopefully that'll give you a bit of an indication. It's small pictures though, so if you want to see something up close and personal, I was walking by the town office the other day and I saw they had on easels, just right by the window there, they had the actual design work. So if you're in Neepawa, you can walk by, you can get a closer look for yourself. It really looks like it's going to be impressive, And if they follow through on what they say they're going to follow through on, it's going to be so big and so important for Neepawa for decades to come. All right, let's move over a little bit to a story that maybe a few people have been talking about as of late. There were hearsay, there were rumors, there were little things here and there in the coffee shops and in the stores that people were talking about. A little incident that occurred in the early morning hours in the town of Neepawa, over by a couple of the gas stations there. Allegedly something had occurred, and we can say with confirmation, January 10th, something did occur. And very good to see the RCMP were up and at it and were able to take care of the situation in a brisk, prompt, and safe manner. Now, for those of you that aren't in the loop here, you're going to find these details on page 2. Neepawa arrests lead to a massive drug and weapons seizure. There were 4 individuals that were arrested from this. It all spurred from a report of stolen vehicle, which led to multiple stolen vehicles being confirmed. Police picking up a few individuals. There were rumors about a foot chase in Neepawa. That's not in the story. I couldn't get official confirmation on that in the story. I'll just say that all the details that are in the paper are confirmed. But there's been a little hearsay that there was a foot chase that occurred in and around the gas stations and the McDonald's here in Neepawa. I cannot officially confirm that for you. All I can say is arrests were made in Neepawa, and 4 individuals have been arrested and are facing a wide array of charges, 2 female, 2 male. And what was interesting, I thought, Casper, was 2 things. First off, the array of ages for all the individuals. There's one as young as 16 years old that's been arrested, and another one, 31-year-old individual arrested. So it was a wide swath, a wide demographic of ages that were arrested. And the other thing I thought was interesting, and let me throw this to you as well, was the diversity of locations where these people were from.
Yeah, it was sort of, I guess, interesting, for lack of any better phrasing, or perhaps mind-boggling to see the spread of ages and then the locations, as you said. Like,
yeah, one from Regina.
Yeah.
A 16-year-old, a kid from Regina.
Then there's Portage, Dauphin,
Yep.
and the other one is St. Rose.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I'm honestly at a loss for words. Like, I don't know how that sort of happens for that spread of ages and locations for it to be kind of,
I think I got an opinion on it, and again, this is my opinion. I want you to know this. It's my opinion. I'm not saying this is news. I'm not saying this is the truth. It's the opinion of Eoin Devereux and Eoin Devereux alone, not of the Neepawa Banner Press, and not of NAC TV. I think Neepawa is well known as being a drive-through town for being on the Yellowhead Highway. And again, I hate to say it, but the amount of drugs and illegal items that drive through Neepawa on a consistent basis, it's one of those known things that we all are aware of. And I think that's part of it. I think it may have been part of a group of, cartel might not be the right word for it, but what else can I use here? That is driving through Neepawa, moving these types of weapons, these type of drugs from one location to the other. That's what I think it is. I could be wrong on that. Who knows? I'm not into the drug game. I've barely watched any episodes of Breaking Bad, so I know nothing about the struggle. So, but it's great that the RCMP were able to step up like this through tips and do the investigation and get these individuals, these weapons, and these drugs off the street.
Yeah, and on the topic of swiftness as well, just as a little aside, when we say swift, it was pretty swift. I don't know exactly the time that they were on the scene there, but I know that front office staff had seen the RCMP cars out there on their way in, and then by the time Eoin went out there to see what was going on, everything was gone. Yep. So it was like just like that.
There were people driving up, getting gas, paying for their gas, getting breakfast, all that sort of stuff.
Business as usual, so.
Yeah. Get out of the way, drug runners. I got to get my Egg McMuffin. I got places to go.
Yeah, and if anything went down, hopefully nobody was too shaken up and everyone's doing okay. So
that's right. Once again, if you want more specific details about the charges and the individuals, you can find it on page 2 of the new edition of the Banner Press. Let's get a little more lighthearted, a little more fun here on that same page. And again, I'll share this with you as well. As I designed page 2, I put it together, the structure, the way the words, the pictures and all that are formatted on the page. And you'll see Mom's Morning Out in Neepawa is the headline for the next story we're going to be talking about. But the way I had it set up before was sort of columned next to each other. So you have the Mom's Morning Out in Neepawa, and right next to it, Neepawa arrest leads to massive drug and weapon seizure. And as I looked at it, I thought, you know what, this sort of sends the wrong message. Maybe I should reshape this to give a little more separation between the two, because it just struck. Jay Leno on The Tonight Show used to do bad headlines all the time. It felt like if that was still a thing, that's one of those ones that would have been sent to him. But
yeah, it can be funny sometimes, though we try to definitely avoid any unfortunate incidentals, as it were, in terms of sort of headlines that can maybe unintentionally associate with each other in a way. But that definitely gave us a little bit of a chuckle there. But we put in the work to make sure they were separated.
And didn't want to disrespect Mom's Mornings Out, which you can go into depth on, Casper. You've got these pictures about this exciting program.
Yeah, so this was a program that was mentioned when I was talking to Dan Martin previously with Smiles for Mental Health, sort of on their year review and what they were looking at doing in 2023 this year. And Mom's Morning Out, this new group, got its first session underway this past week. And it's a pretty good group, I think, to have out there. Basically, it's just an opportunity for moms in the area to get together and just kind of relax and talk and, do crafting projects or what have you while their children in the same facility are taken care of by people on hand to look after children. So they're able to do these activities and just, do their thing while their kids are in the next room having fun playing, and they don't have to worry about it too much because, you need a break. You need to get pampered once in a while. Being a mom is hard work, and a lot of these moms are working jobs as well, so you need that time to just sort of do your own thing for a little bit.
That's right. Really nice to see that initiative take off and the participation of there. You can see the pictures on there, and if you're interested, you can get in touch with the representation from Arts Forward. They'll be able to point you in the right direction in participating yourself if you are interested. All right, this one as well, I'm sure is going to get a lot of attention. I mean, the pictures themselves are just fantastic. Casper, this one is yours as well. An interesting feature about a Plumas family and some unexpected, maybe surprising sort of arrivals over the holiday season.
Yeah, so this family is one that we've covered before, the Latch family, I believe it was pronounced. Janelle in particular from Plumas, we definitely covered because of her business, Mad Dog Produce. And, she has this veggie farm, which is her primary staple there. She's got about 60 plus customers that she serves through her programs there. But also has animals, and that recently being some pigs that she got in the summer. Well, some things happened, and they weren't planning on winter births of any piglets, and they got some. So it's turned into this whole kerfuffle because obviously not planning on having piggies born in the winter. They didn't have a heated barn, so, you know, you're not planning on it. You're not going to have the equipment to do it.
No.
Well, 3 of the 4 sows that they had gotten to start raising pigs for pork got pregnant and had a lot of baby piggies, and ended up having 23 piglets total, because the weather was too cold for them to be outside in the barn with their moms. Ended up being raised in their spare bathroom for quite a while there, and bottle feeding them for quite a few weeks, because once the weather was well enough for them to be sort of outside again, the sows had stopped producing milk, and that's actually a natural thing that happens if they're not being fed from. Their milk will actually dry up faster, so that's why bottle feeding for an extended period was necessary. And I know people were curious about that. Janelle mentioned people had been asking about why didn't you put the piglets back on afterwards, and that was actually why. So yeah, she went into great detail of this is sort of how things happened and what we did to take care of them, and it was quite an involved process. They even gave the piglets iron shots and a whole bunch of stuff like that. They learned how to neuter them, and some of these details I couldn't fit in this story, but still got quite a lot in there. I had to make some tough choices on this one, I have to admit.
But again, fortunately, I mean, sometimes pictures are worth 1,000 words. There's plenty of pictures in there on page 9 and page 19. Plenty of pictures are going to make you go, "Aw."
Absolutely, and I have to admit, I told this to Diane the other day when she saw the pictures. I swear, I just about cried when I opened the email with these extra photos because of how cute these piglets were. You'll see them on the page there, but there's quite a few good ones there. My favorite being some of the ones of them peeking out over the tub, already having been fed, but seeking out, asking, "Hey, can I maybe have a little more?"
Oh, you definitely need to take a few minutes of your time and just delve a little bit deeper into this story. And of course, the pictures were fantastic. Sometimes they really sell the words there, and that's a good combination of visuals and words to go together with this fun and interesting little tidbit of a story. So we hope you'll take a minute or two and definitely give that a quick read and a quick once over. All right, let's shift over to some of the sporting stuff. Oh my God, there was so much sports on the go this past weekend. And of course, this upcoming weekend, January and February, always action-packed with all sorts of different things. One in particular that has had a bit of a hiatus over the last couple years is Neepawa Minor Hockey's U11 hockey tournament, the Tournament of Champions. It's always a big deal for the youngsters to be able to get out there and to play a tournament in their own home rink like that. There were 2 teams for Neepawa that were participating in this year's, and there were 12 teams in total that were involved. I was able to go out, get a bunch of information on the games, spoke with the representative, the committee chair for it, and Tara McCartney, and she was able to share some details there about it, about all the little things that go on behind the scenes to get that happening. So many coaches, so many parents have to put in so much time and energy to make it a success. And as well, I tried to participate by going out to every single game for 2 of Neepawa's teams, get as many pictures as I could. I think I did pretty good in getting some, and was able to share about a half dozen of them in the paper. There's only so much space. I honestly could have gone multiple pages with some great pictures there, but there's only so much space in there that you're able to do it. So I took some of my favorites, my personal favorites there, and put them on page 12. If you'd like to see them, you can see them for yourself there. Swan Valley was the team that ultimately ended up winning the event. Oh my God, they're a talented team. Their goals for and against were like 64-5. Every game seemed to be like 14-1 type scores. So they were very good, very deserving of winning that. But overall, it sounds like it was well organized, well put together. Everyone had a little bit of enjoyment there. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about it and see some of the pictures, you can see it on this first sports page in this week's edition of the Banner Press. All right, so much other sports stuff going on. One that's going to be coming up very soon. We did an update on the Viterra Men's Curling Championship, which is going to be taking over the Yellowhead Center right here in Neepawa in February. If I remember off the top of my head, February 7th to 12th is the best male players in curling. The female one was taking place somewhere else. Off the top of my head, I don't remember where, but that'll be going on a week or so after the men's event. And they're both big deals in the province. They pick the provincial representative that goes on to the Brier. Huge event. I know my housemate, she is a huge fan of watching curling. And she is very much looking forward to the Viterra Championship and being able to see some of this with her own eyes. She and actually the person we rent the house from, are actually planning on making a day, at least a day of it, if not more. Of course, I don't have to sort of be in the media from time to time. Has its perks. I don't have to pay for my ticket. I get the media pass in there, and I'm going to be doing a lot of coverage of that. I am going to be so out of the office that week, Casper. I'm sure you and Diane are going to appreciate that very much.
It'll be weird. It'll be weird. Gosh, with all the sports going on, I'm surprised your feet are still attached from all the running around you're doing.
Well, unfortunately, I'm also going to have to, speaking of feet, I'm going to have to wear the grippy shoes as well, because curling ice is a little bit different sort of slip and slide to it. So if I got to be careful, it'll be whoa.
Yes, definitely. You don't want to have a little accident there for sure.
And I'll be out of the office for even longer because of the concussion. But this event is going to be huge. I talked to Scott Newton, who is one of the local organizing committee members. He shared some of the information. The volunteer base has really come together nicely. It takes a large amount of people to be able to put on an event of this magnitude. As well, in terms of ticket sales, they've sold about 80 or 90 week passes. That might not sound like a lot, but for an event like this, it's a lot of sort of last minutes. So they are under the expectation that it is going to be full or near full to capacity for each and every draw, and especially the semifinals and the final. I didn't put this in the story, but it's something we've talked about before with this story, is that it is, covered nationally. TSN, the National Sports Network, actually does broadcast live the final for the provincials. They did it last year, and they've done it in previous years, so it'll be interesting to sort of see it on a national stage like this. That's why these types of events are so important.
Yeah, it's a big thing to have going on for sure, and I think my parents have caught it on TV before. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's on TV again, so I'll have to watch out for that. I love playing curling, I'll admit, but unfortunately I don't get quite as much enjoyment out of watching it. It's one of those things I have to be doing in order to quite get the same excitement out of, but no, my parents love it a lot, and they get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Well, I think it's definitely going to be very interesting. And once again, you can catch it here in Neepawa, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, as I said, from the 7th to the 12th at the Yellowhead Center. All right, there's so much we could continue to talk about, but we're running out of time. I mean, there's other stories such as the Neepawa Titans' recent success out on the ice, their representatives going to the MJSJ showcase in Winnipeg in the near future, and other stories like the art gallery exhibit from NMS students. So that's why you got to pick up a copy of the Banner Press. You can find it anywhere in Neepawa and surrounding area, or at mywestman.ca. So since we are coming to a close, I do have to say thank you. Thank you, Casper, as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
And once again, thank you for tuning in each and every week right here on NAC TV for the story behind the stories. Have yourself a great week.